You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another fun episode of Ask Drone U. My name is Paul.
And my name is Rob. Thank you for joining us. Today, this is episode number 1004. So glad that you can join us. And I got to say, I'm really impressed that you're here, Paul.
Why are you impressed that I'm here?
Oh,
I thought you were going for the fist pound.
I was just going to set her down like this.
You got
no,
one.
I'm impressed that you're here because you're about to hit the road to a venue or an area that you love and leaving here soon. Still got to pack, and yet you're committed to spending some time with our listeners, which I think is awesome.
Well, you know, Rob, when you deeply care about what's actually going on in the industry that you deeply love to work in because it's fun, challenging, rewarding, you get to be outside in nature, so it's actually good for my health.
Good community.
You know,
a lot of great
yeah,
folks.
I'm gonna fight for it. So
Sweet.
Happy to be here as well. Happy to have you all here as well. Please, if you appreciate some of the stuff you hear on here, please leave us a review and subscribe, or give us a nice little 1000th episode birthday present and share the show on social media. That doesn't mean share the show inside of the Drone U community. I saw a couple people do that, and I was like, okay, that doesn't really help us.
Well, I mean,
it was a good idea.
we'll take it.
Great intentions.
We'll take it. But
But it does absolutely nothing for us.
perhaps we could expand beyond that a little bit. That would be much appreciated, but it's all appreciated.
I only blame myself, poor communication and instructions. But anyway, we are moving on to today's episode talking about problems of flying certain aircraft in the heat as it gets hotter and hotter around here. There are instruction manuals indicate when you should fly and when you should not fly. But this is another great example. This entire show is another great example why the FAA should not use the manufacturer's instruction manual as the basis for a maintenance guide or a pre-flight guide, because there's a lot of information that's in here that's just like, just go do that thing over there and it'll be okay because we sell more drones. So we have to be careful about that. I think it's, So
what is that about? Do you think that it's not being updated enough? Meaning, I think they were best practices as per expectations, and now that there's a lot of data, that information is not being updated in accordance with the data. Because I don't think they're trying to mislead people. They're just not allocating resources maybe to updating that stuff. Maybe that's not important, but I'm curious because I always like to think about intent.
I don't know the answer to your question. I would give them the benefit of the doubt in any case, but I think that there's a huge language divide. I don't think it's at the top of their priority. It's not a direct line item of revenue. When it becomes pertinent and relevant, as it will in the next 6 months for these things to be developed, as DJI continues to try to push UTC and all that propaganda about instruction and training. And I think that there's an analogy here, but I think I'm also going to refrain because, frankly, I think less is more in this case. So I'm going to say less and just move on to something that I enjoy talking about, which is...
Hi, guys. This is Todd from Ohio. With the hotter weather going, and, I know New Mexico is a lot drier than we are, but here in Ohio, we not only have the 85 to sometimes up to 100-degree temperatures, we also have the soupy humidity. So my question is, I know we talk a lot about the dangers of flying drones in cold weather and how to deal with that. One thing I haven't heard too much from anyone is flying drones in hot weather and the dangers that can come from that, especially with the batteries, and how to deal with that, how to prepare for that, because sometimes too, especially if you're doing a job, you can't wait until September or for things to cool down to get that job done. And also, the instructions in the DJI manuals tell you the the outside temperatures that you can operate the drone in, but it never says anything about what the internal temperatures of the drone can be, or what the acceptable temperatures are. And the thing I worry about the most, of course, is the batteries. I noticed that even after about 5 minutes, especially with the humidity out here, the batteries go quickly up to 40 degrees Celsius, which is right up to about 104 degrees. And although, with my Inspire 2, being as everything is kind of not really covered, the drone may stay fairly cool from what I can tell, but the batteries definitely get hot. And with the Mavic 2, the batteries will show that they're getting pretty hot, and the drone itself gets very hot. But I've asked DJI what acceptable internal temperatures are, or what I should look for, and I really can't get a straight answer out of anybody. So anyway, I was just hoping you guys could touch on that. Sorry for the long-winded question. Thanks, and enjoy, you guys, and you guys are awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Todd. You are awesome. Thank you for taking the time to get your question in. And obviously, this time of year, a lot of people are thinking about what you're thinking about. And as a matter of fact, we just had actually a couple things going on relative to flying and operating Drone U in the Phoenix of all areas, a couple weeks ago. And I think it was probably 110. And I know that's different from the humidity side of things, but nonetheless, the heat's the heat as it relates to flying, right?
Yeah.
So sounded brutal. Sorry, I wasn't there.
112 degrees was brutal, Rob. And when you're in some of these industrial sites and you have to wear PPE, and when you're in fire prone areas like Arizona and New Mexico, you have to wear all cotton as well. There's so many things that you have to do for the heat. And I have to say, I don't understand how anyone lives in Arizona. I really don't. Like, it's a beautiful place. I mean, I'm going to Arizona tomorrow. Don't get me wrong, but
and I'm going Friday.
I can't imagine living there. So it's a great place to visit. But in fact, I go there all the time. But it's hot, man. So he brings up some good questions and some good points. I know the Phantom, or it was either the Phantom or the Inspire 1 in particular. I can't remember which of those two. They said, don't operate the drone in over 105 degree temperatures. And I will say this, the Inspire 1 would handle the heat pretty well. It was the battery that always caused the problem. With the Phantom series, and in fact, PJ was out here in New Mexico, and he was flying some cell towers, and he had the same problem that I've been having. And I actually know of many, 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 like dozens of pilots that have had this problem. But essentially, if you let the drone sit in the sun and it's over 100 degrees, so keywords, sitting in the sun and over 100 degrees, typically you'll get the picture will just go out. Mm-hmm. And I actually did a lot of research on this, and there's one particular, what is it called? It's one particular, I think it's the video transmission board that sits on the bottom of the aircraft, and the heat sink is literally super glued to the bottom of the aircraft. So when it gets super hot, it really, really, really doesn't, how do I say this? It doesn't dispensate the heat very well. So we get these...
Because it's sort of insulated in a sense.
Well, I just don't think we're getting good contact with the heat sink and where it's supposed to be. But anyway, long story short is that you'll get a camera sensor error. I have seen 3 drones drop. Actually, no, I can only say for sure I've only seen 2 drop out of the sky in the heat. But I've never... I've always been so damn careful whenever I fly in the heat. My stuff is always in the shade. I mean, always. Like literally yesterday, Hoel had the Ronin S out on the table and it was 4 inches from the shade, and I literally moved it into the shade. And he's like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because every second is a minute of film we cannot do. Yeah. So or a minute of film we cannot produce. I mean, the Sony was overheating, the Ronin was fine, it never had a problem. It's just that when you become a drone pilot, in fact, let me step back really quick. Rob, you remember that saying we were talking about pre-show about discipline?
I do.
Would you mind repeating that for everyone?
I think what you're referring to is that instead of pursuing discipline, not that it's a bad thing, pursue good habits.
Well, yeah, that was a really poor way of communicating what you communicated really well earlier.
Wow.
So
Growth through honesty is what we believe in here on this show.
clearly, no, you said screw discipline. There is no such thing as discipline because you create habits that create routines that build into systems. If you want to be a successful drone pilot, guess what? That's what it is. Is that right? Is that not right?
No, I'm still laughing at my failure.
You know I'm just a little aggressive today. That's all. I'm sorry, Rob.
Today.
Just today.
Anyways.
And tomorrow.
No, but absolutely. It is definitely in terms of what you're saying about creating good habits so that you don't even have to think about being disciplined because it just happens.
But is that not right, though? I mean, what you were saying is like
that.
you were essentially saying screw the whole idea of discipline.
Well, but see, I didn't say it that way.
That's what I heard.
Well, I don't think that's quite fair in terms of what I meant.
It's okay to hurt people's
Let me put
feelings.
it this way. It is not. No, I'm just kidding. It's not okay.
Jeez,
Girls and boys, no.
Okay, hold on.
No. Because I think there's always various ways to look at things, right? And in this particular issue, without getting too much on a tangent, it's going to take some discipline that in order to achieve those habits. Right. So I think they're married. I think the problem is focusing too long on being disciplined and never just letting that discipline kind of evolve into habits that you no longer have to rely on discipline for. That's probably a better way of saying all of that together. So I don't mean to poo-poo your point, but I want to discipline is an important part of life, right?
It is, but the way that I understood it was that discipline is essentially non-existent when you just decide to create these habits and always do essentially what you should be doing or the right thing. Because then the decision is no longer difficult. You're not making it all the time. You're not having this emotional freaking little spat in your car, whatever happens.
That's
Period.
true. Once it's a happen, once
it's a happen
and habit, then discipline doesn't matter because it's not relevant because you just do it.
So if it's a happening habit, does that mean it's fun? That's a solid question.
We'll have to go to the what's the encyclopedia?
Oh, Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary. Thank you. Whew.
In Urban Dictionary.
That hurt.
Yeah, we're all hurting. We're ready for the 4th of July holiday, which let me just go ahead and run through some more things that this guy should be focused on because I just, we've had more and more people who are coming to us for enterprise trainings, and I am just absolutely flabbergasted. We had another one this last week, not when we were on set. And I'm watching these guys and the systems that they have, and I'm just thinking of literally everything that can go wrong because when you have these systems of the rules of takeoff, clearing out the area, there was just so many things, Rob, that for example, and I'm Josh Marriott, hope you're listening. Josh Marriott, super huge advocate of safety, almost to the point of we made fun of him. I will never, ever, ever make fun of that guy, ever. You know why? Because
he's just a nice guy for one.
He is a really nice guy to begin with, and he's a phenomenal person. Also, again, just want to say a big shout out and thank you to Innovative UAS in Phoenix as well. But he's phenomenal because here we are on this huge industrial solar site, 3 megawatts of power, not enormous, but big to most people. Long story short, he's got the full PPE. They close off the takeoff area, warning tape, which by the way, warning tape also makes for a great belt when you forget yours in the field. And
double up.
Yeah. Hey, I had to yesterday. So they put the cones out there. They got the warning tape. It's all sanctioned off. No one come in our takeoff area. And yet we're in the middle of nowhere with nobody around.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, well, why are they doing that? Right? Exactly right. It's a safety habit. But when we were on set, I was sitting here thinking to myself, and I'm like, I kind of wish Josh Marriott was here because there's 300 people around right now and they're not doing any of this safety stuff. And it just all hit me. It's when it comes to safety and habits, you're not planning for what can go wrong. You're planning for what you don't know that can go wrong.
Absolutely. It's sort of another perspective on the black swan, right? What's out there
wow,
that you're not
yeah.
even prepared for.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
because
I'm a worrywart. Please don't get me started on that.
so in your experience in Phoenix, it sounds like you guys had some actual, I mean, it affected the work that you were trying to do. You had to let drones rest, kind of what happened out there?
So yeah, I mean, like, and I need to go back to the whole point of this question, but when we were out in Phoenix, the drones had to be over a covered area. This also brings up another great point about safety because, we tell people all the time, like, don't fly from vehicles, don't be sitting in your vehicle flying from it. But Phoenix was the first time that, like, it was actually a bigger safety risk to not have that person in the vehicle, because if the remote would have just overheated and powered off, like, who knows what would have happened. I mean, I know when the remote turns off, it's supposed to go into return to home, but there's a huge, we're talking like 800, 900 watts of irradiance off of these panels, or excuse me, not off of the panels, but coming into the panels. So you're getting a lot of reflection of heat off the panels. It's 110 degrees. You don't know how these batteries are going to react when they're hot as well. So, when it comes to operating outside, let's just talk really quick. If it's a humid environment, keep your stuff cold, but do not keep it by the air conditioner, because the colder it is, and then when you bring it outside, typically you're going to have a lot of, what is it called? Condensation on the lens, and it takes a long time to get all of that out. I mean, yeah, you can just wipe it off and everything, but it causes a lot of problems. So try to keep your equipment cool. Step number 2 is never put your equipment, like, for example, if you're planning a mapping mission, do you think it's a smart idea to put your drone out there, turn it on, plan your map mission, and then start flying? No. Okay, the drone is sitting in the sun, it's heating up. I've noticed that anything over 105 degrees, you're gonna have problems. But that also means real feel 105 degrees. So like yesterday it was 101 in Roswell, but real feel was like 92. So because lack of humidity.
Okay.
Now that being said, if it was 101 and 80% humidity, real feel would be like 120. So to answer his question, I do not know the internal temperature, the actual number, but for me, anytime it's over 100 degrees, I am and that's not the right word, I am a staunch advocate of not putting anything outside or under the shade. So like sometimes I even have my vehicle just running, and this is another reason to buy a full-size SUV and not one of those crappy vans, is that you can run air conditioning all the way to the back and the rear and literally be sitting on the back of the truck with the hatch open, still outside controlling, and oh yeah, I've got air conditioning running on my neck. So,
and maybe a set of batteries back there as well, right?
Ford should sponsor this damn podcast, because I keep finding more and more reasons to buy another Expedition and not a pickup truck and not a van. Like, there's just so much value in those things. But anyway, going back to it, when it's hot and humid outside, here's something, another safety thing, which is, how many people do you know actually check density altitude before they fly?
I don't know any.
Yeah, me neither. And it's kind of pathetic. You know why? Because if density altitude is really low and it's really hot outside, you literally could have massive problems, like the bird literally dropping right out of the sky.
What is the reality of a battery flaming up, exploding, anything of that nature? That's pretty serious, obviously. Is that something is that why 100 is the cutoff, or? Because obviously,
no, I think you're actually having other parts overheating to the point where they're not working anymore.
Right.
I mean, I know, like, look, whenever you overheat an iPad, you always lose the video transmission signal. But DJI figured out something. They made the crystal sky, and when it overheats, you just lose the ability to actually press buttons, but you still have the feed, so you can still see what you're doing. Right. And that's a critical safety issue, But it's also a critical safety issue when the iPad goes out and Ground Station Pro stops working, and now the drone is like off there floating, and you're like, okay, well, time to bring it back, Right. So, I mean, when we're talking about the heat can affect your tablet, it can affect your remote control, it can affect the drone, the camera sensor, the VTX. It can also affect the thermal sensors. So, one particular job that we were on, it took almost 3 hours to get these 2 particular thermal sensors to work because they were too hot.
So what I'm hearing, though, is that you just have to be diligent, but not fearful as it relates to flying in the heat. And obviously there are some thresholds that you're beyond what you should fly in. It sounds like it's difficult to actually determine what that is. I don't know. I suppose somebody has done a lot of testing.
I don't actually think anyone really has, because there's also a huge difference between dry heat and humid heat,
sure,
especially with density altitude. But that being said, let's talk about dry heat really quick. And what's my typical workflow? So yesterday was 101 degrees, pretty hot.
Pretty hot, yeah.
So what did we do? All of our gear was inside. The batteries were charged the night before. Every single thing that was electronic was inside. That way your cases are cold. If the cases are cold themselves, that will actually help you keep the batteries cooler, especially after they've been used. So what I do is everything is inside. It's all charged up. First thing that we do is we put all the gear in the truck. Truck is already fired up. It's running AC already. We're already, getting that to go. I also utilize, we don't have one in here. Do you know what those little rags are called? It's almost like a car chamois.
I know what you're talking about. It's just like a cool wrap. They call them different things like that. Yeah.
So yesterday the Sony kept overheating, and again, it's so dry that if we wet this thing, it doesn't matter. It's not getting anything dirty or wet so that it's going to fail. But we wet the rag, those cool rags. I literally put it in a Yeti cooler with all the ice and get it as cold as possible, and then put it on top of something because it acts like a swamp cooler. Now, if you're in a humid area, the effect is not going to be as huge.
Sure. But
that being said, so all the drones are out there. We go out there. We find out where we are. I typically park the car into the sun. Okay. That way my rear hatch acts as much of a tent as it can. I can't stand pop-up tents. They take way too long to set up. And whenever I'm filming a ranch, I don't have 20 minutes to literally put it away, take it out, put it away, take it out, put it away, take it out. Like, I'm hoping that someone comes, and maybe we should just put this on our idea page. Imagine a spring-loaded single shade structure that attaches to the top of your roof that literally you press a button and it goes whoop, and literally just gives you 8 feet of vertical, travel, maybe 5-6 feet wide, but at least it's something and it's fast.
Yeah.
It's really fast.
I like it.
So then what I do is I typically have a couple tables out. In fact, I will show you a beautiful little picture here. Have a couple tables out. See, Rob, this is literally it. In a nutshell. I've got a little table, a big table, and the cooler, and I literally chill in the back there.
Yeah. Pretty simple stuff.
Yeah,
and you can move around quickly. That's kind of the idea, right? Because if you're doing a ranch in particular, if you're doing something that's a large area, then you need to be able to pick up and move quickly and not make a big deal out of setup.
Yeah, the largest ranch I've covered in a single day was 12,000 acres, and I really don't think I did a good job covering it. So I would say the best job that I've done covering a single ranch was 8,000 acres. And yeah, you're moving every hour, pretty much. So we need to go back to this workflow because there's a couple key steps here that are extremely important. And we were talking about in our enterprise stuff about specificity on the webinar and the SOPs, which I didn't even really get a chance to really go over that well. Was the fact that, you've got to literally walk outside, leave your car. Everyone gets so freaking excited, like we're all children. And I love the excitement. I love everything. But if you're going to be successful in the drone world, you need to learn to be excited and have fun, but also be very systems oriented. And if you can't do those two things together, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't be a drone pilot. So moving on, we go out there, I get out of the car, I put the tables out there. And then what I do is I plan my flight. Literally, okay, I want to do a little upper reveal over here. I want to do a vertigo shot, really low to the grass over here. Okay, I'm going to need the Mavic 2 Enterprise for that. So I plan out all my shots. Then I fire up the remote and my Crystal Sky first. Whenever I'm doing just video and photos, I'm pretty much always using a Crystal Sky because it's so hot. A cooled iPads don't work for me. The iPhone 10 has a terrible overheating issue, so I'm actually excited to get the iPhone XS because it doesn't have as much of an overheating issue. So planning your flight first is so critical. Fly it, put the drone back, literally in the car, not right in front of the AC. Doesn't need to be right there, but just in the car with the battery tray open. That's also extremely important. You put that hot battery away immediately. Put it, what is it called? Put it in your bag. Just make sure it can get some air as well. Maybe not put it all the way in the slot, but just enough, and make sure that bag is inside the vehicle where it's staying cool. Okay. People really don't understand the depth at which you need to take this stuff sometimes in order to work. This is why only the serious pilots literally get the best jobs. jobs is because they're safety focused, they're systems focused, they're also able to be creative, and they're also able to handle complex situations with extreme emotional intelligence. And if you want to be like that too, guess what? You can. It just takes habits, because I'm not like that. Like, you guys know that it's taken me years to get to this point, and I'm still working on it. We all are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But so the thing is, this is very doable, right? It's just a matter of focusing on the important things and making them happen. I mean, I don't think anything you've said is super complex. It's just a matter of taking the time to systematize and make sure you do everything that needs to be done.
True.
Right.
True. Well, on that bombshell, that's going to do it for us today. For everyone, happy 4th of July. If you made it this far, there is a current Drone U discount for July 4th. Rob, what is it?
Well, we're going to do, let's see, I don't remember the numbers, 15% off. Paul's not going to like this because he doesn't know yet, but I think we want to reward
Better
people.
find someone to teach it.
For I already did, PJ.
PJ, you're fired.
No, you're not. We just signed the contract. Anyways, 15% off an in-person class, and that is not going to last long, guys. And that is the best discount we've ever given. And
it's not going to last.
And yeah,
I'm just telling you right now. Like, once I get back from vacation, it's done.
Yeah, no, that's actually true. We're going to hold it open until Sunday, which would be the 6th. So Sunday at midnight. Mountain time. And then also an annual membership. We're going to drop that $100 off of the normal cost. So that's a pretty great deal to become a part of Drone U and really experience the community for a full year and sort of absorb it and then be a part of it and contribute to it, which is so very important. We don't want to be a bunch of takers. We want to be a bunch of givers, and then the taking happens naturally. So hope you'll join us, and we'll have information in the show notes as to how you can take advantage of those sales.
Definitely. Thanks again for joining us, guys. We'll see you in the next show. Thank you for supporting us. Seriously, please leave us a review. Cheers.